Ladies and gentlemen, oh boy, I'm way off center. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the ABJ Podcast, episode 5. Be with our guest in 1 second here. If I do sound a little weird, just bear with me. I'm getting over something. Hopefully, I think I'm coming to the end of it, but if you hear me cough or anything, I apologize. I'm going to do my best. But anyway, thank you everyone for the support so far on the podcast. We're hitting some really cool goals. Still no audio reviews. I've been checking that out, but nothing there. I do want to start reading more reviews, but I did get some on Facebook, so I'm going to read some Facebook reviews. First one comes from Ben Gladys. Dude is a class act, very knowledgeable behind the scenes and on camera, generous with his time and passionate about his work. Thank you so much, Ben. And these all come from Facebook. So if you head over to Anthony Blackwell Jr., it's going to be a little cartoon photo. That is my business page if you want to add that, and not my personal one. That'd be great. And then James Simerson, he said, very underrated in what he does, very talented in a wide range of things. If you need help, and he's the first one to be there and help. Truly honored to call him a friend. John Wise, this is going to be a good one. Listen to his podcast, and now I sleep the whole night through with no problems, and my flatulence smell like cotton candy, unicorns, and rainbows. Highly recommend. So you can't beat that. You know what I mean? When people are saying that they listen to your podcast and your farts smell good, that's great. Once again, all the links below for myself and my guest are below. Also, the promotion that we met is going to be linked below because they do a weekly show on their YouTube channel, Intensity IWA Jersey, Intensity Wrestling Alliance. But without further ado, I'm going to bring my guest in. What's going on, man?
How's it going, everybody? Jason Hendrix here from Lion Core. Let's get into it, baby.
I love the name Lion Core.
Honestly, dude, I do too. We came up with it because we all listen to metal in some fashion. So we're sitting there trying to come up with a name. And at the time, Jaden was going by The Lion. So I was like, what if we took metalcore and just threw, I think the first suggestion was Tiger in there. And then Jay's like, nah, we got to use Lion. So that's how we ended up with Lion Core. And yeah, we're ready to mess stuff up, man.
Yeah, I'm a 80s hair metal guy, so usually it's either lion, panther, dragons, or tigers is usually the way to go.
Hey, can never go wrong, man. All badass animals.
Yeah. So how did this team form? Let us know the members of the team and what the theme of this trios is.
Yeah, I'll get right into it. So it's myself, Jaden Staley, and Justin Bon Jovi. As Anthony plugs, you can catch us on IWA Intensity. Please go check out the YouTube. We all trained together at IWF under Kevin Knight, and it was like my first or second practice, I think, ever. And Jaden comes up to me. He's like, hey, if you keep progressing, I might have a little idea for you that Justin would be involved with as well. Lo and behold, kept progressing. So here we are. And we absolutely love tearing it up for IWA.
Yeah, the Bon Jovi. That is a home run on commentary. I'll tell you that right now. I had such a blast calling his matches. Definitely go check out the YouTube channel because I feel like I threw some good zingers in there. But let's kind of go back even further. You said you're kind of new to the game. How long have you been in the professional wrestling business?
I'm a baby, man. I'm a baby. I've been training since June. And I've been working shows since August. My first ever show, it wasn't an in-match debut, but my first ever show was actually IWA back in August when I managed Jaden. I have about 8 matches, I believe, live under my belt so far. So I've been working matches since September and never looked back, man. Never looked back. I've wanted to do this for a very long time. So to finally be in the position where I am is a huge honor.
Yeah, me hearing that you were very new to the game, I think I leaned over to Pete. I'm like, how long has he been in this? And he's like, I don't think it's been very long. You're very, very talented for a very short time. And then kind of doing some research on you, you're a multi-athlete kind of kid, man. It looks like you've been playing pretty much every sport that can be thrown your way your entire life.
Yeah. I'm a big sports fan outside of wrestling. I grew up playing football as well. I love football. I'm a huge New York Jets fan. I played just about everything, but my favorite was linebacker, middle linebacker, and probably edge rusher too. Back when I was a little taller, I liked getting after the quarterback. But I also
before I found out I had a joint disorder, I loved safety. I loved strong safety.
Safety was cool. I remember that was my first interception playing strong safety, but I kind of wanted somewhere where I could get a little bit more in the face of the quarterback. So that's what moved me more towards the line. But I was more too, as I got into high school, an amateur wrestler. I had a passion for that as well. Did Brazilian jiu-jitsu, got my blue belt back in high school, actually. So grappling has always been a huge part of my life. It was only a natural transition to end up where I'm at now.
Yeah. How much of your MMA background and professional wrestling or your amateur wrestling background carry over into your style if people have never seen you wrestle?
I would say it does quite a bit. When I do things on the mat, I really like to pepper in as much amateur or Brazilian jiu-jitsu style that I can. If you go and watch my match, that was myself and Justin Lioncourt versus The Throne, which is Casey Lycan and Daniel Riley. That's on my YouTube channel, by the way, the Jason Hendrix Experience. You will see myself and Daniel Riley open up with an exchange that has a lot of amateur stylings to it. So it's something that I hold near and dear to my heart, and I try and keep with me as I go forth in my professional wrestling career.
Yeah. Now, who are some people growing up watching in the business that you modeled your career out of? Because after watching you wrestle and then knowing what I know now, I peg you for one guy, and a lot of people don't give him the respect he deserves, but I'll tell you who it is after you tell me who your influences are.
Okay, this is interesting. I catch a lot of comparisons, and I think it's because of the hair. Got the long hair now, so everyone tells me I look like every blonde guy that's ever wrestled.
This guy is blonde, but he switches it up.
Okay, so I would say style-wise, guys that I look up to are guys that I'm kind of built a little bit like, or personality-wise, I say I align with. One would be Chris Jericho. I take a lot from him. In ring, I also take a lot from Daniel Bryan. He is a technical wizard, someone I definitely look up to. And then I have to also give credit to the guy that made me want to be a wrestler, and that's CM Punk.
Okay, so the guy I kind of peg you for, you remind me a lot of Dolph Ziggler.
I actually got that
wrestler.
before.
Yeah, also amateur wrestler, extremely character driven. I think you carry your character, even though you're very new to the game, very well. You bump very well, you sell very well. As a heeled guy, a heel guy who's new. You're gonna go in there and take some beans. You know what I mean? And you're not gonna come out and be the top guy right away. You got to earn your stripes. And I think you're doing a great job. And I feel like Ziggler is the type of guy you could put in there with anybody, and he'll make you look like $1 million.
Hey, I appreciate that comparison because that is a stud right there, man.
Yeah.
It's something I've actually heard before, and that's someone I probably should have brought up because in terms of selling, I take almost all my inspiration on my selling from Dolph Ziggler, 1,000%. I think him and Shawn Michaels are the best to ever do it in terms of selling and bumping.
Yeah. Everyone says who was the next Shawn in the business, and they say Adam. I was like, if he took it seriously and he actually was like felt like he didn't care right now, but like Dolph was easily the next Shawn. Like charisma, ability, just so good. Look, yeah.
Oh, you can tell that he directly inspired so much from Shawn. I mean that's not rocket science to figure that one out. He does the whole sweet chin music with the stomps and everything. So he's definitely looking up to the right people, and that's someone that I've always looked up to. Funny enough, if we want to go way back to 2013 or 2012, I was 12 or 13 then, and I'm sitting there at a WWE live show down in Wildwood, New Jersey, at the Boardwalk Convention Hall. And the main event was Dolph Ziggler versus Alberto Del Rio for the heavyweight championship.
Oh, wow.
And I distinctly remember thinking to myself, as I guess middle school, elementary school, I don't know how old you are then, I'm going to do this one day. So that was in the middle of that match when I decided I wanted to be a wrestler. So Dolph is an absolute honor to be compared to, for sure.
How did you get besides this show, was wrestling something that was part of your household? Was it something that your parents were into, your dad, your mom? How did you find the professional wrestling?
My dad was into it, but he was never really the one that was the driving force to kind of get my eyes on it. He's always been supportive of what I do. I'm very thankful for that. But I would say mostly I kind of grew up with some friends that were watching it that kind of had me around it, but I wasn't like as entrenched as I got as when CM Punk cut the pipe bomb. When CM Punk cut the pipe bomb, I was watching his stuff on YouTube a lot, which led to me tuning in consistently to watch Raw and SmackDown. So I really, as I said earlier, I got to give pretty much full credit to Punk for getting me as into wrestling as I got.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I actually got away from wrestling around my high school era, around 2003, 2004. I graduated 05, but I found mixed martial arts. My first match I ever watched was Tito versus Ken Shamrock 1 back in like UFC 32 or something, and I was hooked. And there was nothing else in the world you can show me besides mixed martial arts, and I just dropped professional wrestling. And then I used to get every pay-per-view from like 32 up to like 215. And then people were like, yo, you got to get back into wrestling. There's these two guys you're going to love. And it was Punk and Brian. And I started
Yeah.
watching. And right after soon as I started watching, they both left the company. So I was like, well, I'm already here. I'll stick around with it. And then we started the podcast, that Tornado Tag. And yeah, so that's kind of, I got my resurgence back in. So I go back and rewatch some stuff. But yeah, around your era, you were more the Ruthless Aggression era, right? With the Punk and
I would say a little more PG era than Ruthless Aggression. I when I was a lot younger, if you still consider it Ruthless Aggression era, the first feud I can distinctly remember is Punk and Mysterio, which I think is right on the borderline of those eras, kind of. So I would definitely say I grew up more in the PG era. I'm a youngin. Than Ruthless Aggression. But I go back, and a lot of the film that I study for my stuff in the ring is from Ruthless Aggression era.
My first rivalry that sticks in my head is Savage Jake the Snake. When he bit him, the snake bit his arm, I bawled like a baby. That scarred me for life. That's probably why, to this day, why I'm afraid of snakes.
Funny enough, my wrestling debut had a snake in the match. I was just lucky enough to not be the one that had the snake on me, because I'd rather not, but it was in
it's a dangerous game to play in today's climate. Using animals? Yeah.
It was in a 6-man at a Rise pre-show, Rise Wrestling out in Uniontown, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh area. Check it out. And I think someone on my team got the snake put on them, but I had already ate a pretty fat choke slam and rolled out of the ring. So luckily I was not in the snake's way.
Yeah.
At that point.
You said you're only a couple matches in. Have you worked any names yet?
Yeah, I've worked Tony Atlas
nice.
in my second match. That was really cool. Absolute honor to work a legend of the business. And Soriano from Primal Fear, I worked at Rise recently.
I love Primal Fear.
Yeah, dude, very talented, very professional. He was in a match where it was another 6-man tag on the pre-show, and he was working with a lot of guys that were a little bit younger in the business, so he naturally was kind of the leader and things there, and I thought he did a great job. I thought he was very professional and very helpful.
Yeah. Now, how did you land the name Jason Hendrix? Was this a name that was given to you because you started the rock group, or did you have something first and then change it for Lioncore? How did you land on this name?
Okay, so I had gone through a million ideas of what I wanted my name to be. And I think because what the standard I was held to was this needs to be completely original, never heard it before, ever in wrestling.
Which is impossible.
And that was really hard to do. I came up with a really big list of things that probably didn't work too well. And I'm a big music guy. I always have been, especially metal and rock, all that stuff. So I'm just skirting through my playlists, looking at words that I think are cool. And I just passed Jimi Hendrix, and I was like, you know what? I feel like that works pretty well. It just so happened to be a very lucky coincidence that I ended up teaming with Justin, because Hendrix and Bon Jovi just sounds sick.
And they're so polar opposite.
Yeah, they're different, but it's all, the classic rock kind of vibe. Different artists, absolutely, but Justin is actually literally related to John Bon Jovi.
Really?
And I have a rock tie too. It's just not in the name. I'm Eddie Money's third cousin. So we both have the ties. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is super sick. When I first got into this, I was actually before I even got into wrestling, I started the podcast. But before I even started the podcast, I got really entrenched in the local music scene in my area. I can't play, I can't sing, I can't do anything. But I would just go to shows. I'd go to shows and support. I would help, roadie. I'd travel with a band, and if they got drunk, I drove them home. So I made a lot of connections in the music industry in my area, and that was a great intro to carry over into the wrestling world, because you'll learn a lot of music carny shit, and then you come to wrestling and you learn that carny shit. You're like, oh, there's a lot of similarities here.
I think they're very similar industries, and that's why myself being, I would argue I am the biggest metalcore head that you will find anywhere. I think there's a lot of carryover into wrestling just in terms of understanding. It's just a similar vibe. It's hard to put into words exactly, but I think they're very hand in hand. And I think that's something, if you look back to like the Black and Gold NXT, they had a really good connection between metal and wrestling. And that's something, that was my favorite thing ever, man. If that could come back, that would be exquisite.
When Poppy would play out Io Shirai.
Yeah, crazy stuff, man. They even had, my favorite band is Beartooth, and they had Beartooth. One of their songs was like a takeover theme or something like that, and that alone to me is cool because I have their lyrics tattooed on my ribs and everything. I'm big into those guys.
I have buddies who are doing pretty well in the music industry right now. They just got off tour with Gwar. They're called Crowbot out of Pennsylvania, and they just
I know them.
You know Crowbot?
I listen to them. Yeah, not like religiously, but I like their stuff for sure.
They were on Jericho's cruise, and they're big. They're wrestling fans as well, but they just had a situation where they put their trailer out in front of their house, and they came home from tour, and they were out doing whatever they're doing, living their lives again, and some scumbag drove up, attached his truck to their trailer, and stole everything. So now they don't the band has no instruments, no merch, no everything's gone.
Dude, that's a shame, man. That's crazy too, because like as I said, I know Crowbot. They're on, I think, my gym playlist a little bit, and I had no idea there was any wrestling connection. But that is just so unfortunate, man. It's a cold world. It's a cold world.
I'm actually gonna find it while we go here. The Crowbot GoFundMe. It popped in my head because we're talking wrestling. I'm gonna put it in the chat here if anyone wants to support. If you have anything, just help them out a little bit. I think they up to $11,000 out of a $30,000 goal, but this is a huge setback for them. Obviously, they're everyday people just trying to tour the world and do their thing, and to lose everything sucks. But yeah. So now you said you're only a couple matches in. You're coming up on your first year, right? Like this will be your first full year as a wrestler.
Still got a ways. I started training 6 months ago.
Okay.
So we have until June. June is when I started up, but it felt very natural for me because obviously I said I have the amateur background, but this is stuff I've wanted to do my whole life. I always watched wrestling a little bit differently. I would watch things and how they do the moves and how they take the moves. And I would go out my trampoline and practice them on air, but I wouldn't just be doing them. I would be doing them, seeing the little intricacies, the way the guy turned his foot, all the little stuff. And I would obsessively practice it, which is why I stepped into wrestling knowing how to do an enziguri fairly well already. Little things like that, which I don't advise going in and feeling like you know everything, because that's not at all what was the case for me. There was stuff that needed to be corrected, but just obsessively thinking about it definitely helped me out a lot.
Now, where are you based out of? And I think this is a really interesting question because I think a lot of people who listen to this always think to themselves like, man, how do I break into this business? What can I do to become a commentator, a referee, a manager? I want to get into wrestling in some form or fashion. How did you find where you got your training and promotions? Like, what was the legwork that you did?
Okay, so I'll give you, because I kind of have a little bit of a long tail for this one.
Yeah.
I started training in New Jersey this summer with Kevin Knight at IWF out in Nutley, New Jersey. So that's how I got my start. I trained there for about 3 months.
How did you find out about it? Like finding out about Kevin and his promotion or his school?
I Googled wrestling schools near me. Mm-hmm. But funny enough, I think I had my eyes on IWF when I was probably like 14, 15. Like I had been looking into this for years.
So you were aware of the independent wrestling scene as well?
To an extent. Like I wasn't watching it per se, but I always had my eyes on where I planned to go to school because I knew that no matter what point in my life I started, I would start. Even though, as I said, mixed martial arts was a focus for me for a while, I knew that even if that's what I pursued, that I would be a professional wrestler for some period of time. So I found Kevin Knight, IWF. looked back into it when it was time to actually sign up, and they were still operating. So I reached out. They got back to me, and I was actually in Europe for the first part of training, but I landed, came right in, and got to work. So 3 months there, and I have to go back to in August. I go to West Virginia University out here in Morgantown, West Virginia. So wrestling is my dream. Wasn't going to give up on it. Wasn't just going to stop because I went back to school. So I found the Stronghold Training Center in Uniontown, Pennsylvania. Train under Brandon K there. And honestly, if you're looking for wrestling training and you're out in this area, there's nowhere better that you're going to find than Brandon K. You're going to see a lot of his guys coming out on the scene soon, making waves. You already see some Thea Hale in NXT, Lee Moriarty, AEW, Lady Frost.
Love Lee Moriarty.
Yeah, dude,
Lady
he's
Frost?
awesome. Lady Frost, Megan Myers has been making waves. And
Wait, this is the West Virginia school?
Uniontown, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say Lady Frost is Pittsburgh, and I thought you were. My bad. Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually, West Virginia is an hour, 15 hour and a half south of Pittsburgh. So
Yeah.
Uniontown's in that area as well. As I said, though, Brandon K could not be a better trainer in terms of technique and psychological wrestling. So if you're in the Pittsburgh area and you're looking to wrestle, doesn't matter how long you have to drive, make that trip.
Yeah. Pittsburgh is a hike for if you're more set northeast Pennsylvania. For me, it's like a 3-hour drive, but yeah, that scene has so much good talent out of it. I'm a huge fan of the Pittsburgh scene. The Lady Frost and the gentleman, her husband, Gentleman Savage, right?
Yeah.
Savage Gentleman, yeah.
Yeah, Savage Gentleman, Victor Benjamin, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
He's really cool, man. His whole thing, he just straight out of Street Fighter. I had the privilege of watching his match at not the last Rise show, but the one before it. And he's awesome, man. He's awesome. And so is Lady Frost. She worked a really good match against Zoe Sky, that card, too.
Lady Frost, I don't know if she's still going through, and you don't have to say anything, but just like, I keep up with them because I think they're very talented. But I know she was going through some stuff where she signed, I won't say the company, but she signed and they're kind of holding her out, not using her or letting her work. And it's like, what a shame. You know what I mean? Like, just to hold someone. I'm glad those days of wrestling I thought were kind of gone, where WWE didn't just hold people to hold them. And people can work and go do things, but that's such a shame for her because I know, like, my take right now in the world of wrestling, I think NXT is probably a year or a year and a half away from really going back to what Black and Gold was, where they start picking up the indie scene and really rebuilding NXT and finding those indie darlings. And I think she's a knockout star for NXT because not only is she really talented, but I think she would be a great coach too.
Oh, dude, definitely. I watched her go out and steal the show 1,000% in the one match I've been lucky enough to watch of hers. So there's really no reason she shouldn't be on television every week. So I hope she gets there, and I'd be excited to watch her if she does.
Yeah, and Victor Benjamin did a blood sport. So he has like a little mixed pro wrestling, MMA style shoot fight wrestling under his belt. So maybe that's something you guys can lock up one day with.
Oh, I'd love to. Once I will be on the Rise main roster in 2023. So who knows? He could cross paths with Jason Hendrix at some point. Then we'll have to see.
Yeah. Also from the Pittsburgh area, big fan of Danny Moe and Facade. They're Pittsburgh people. Love them. And you know, sorry, I know you're in a tag team, and sorry too. The other one I'm wearing. I try to find a shirt from the company of the person I'm wearing, the faceless ones. So if you have any t-shirts, let me know. But yeah, the outfielders, the runway, love the runway.
Yeah, Runway's exceptionally talented. They've been Rise's tag champs for quite some time now. If you're not familiar with Rise Wrestling, listen to all these names we're talking about. They're studs. Please tune in.
Is that a YouTube thing? Are they on Fight? How can IWTV? Where are they at?
Yeah, they're on Indie Wrestling TV.
Love it.
And I believe there could be some stuff on YouTube in the works. Don't quote me on anything. I'm not exactly sure. but there's going to be plenty of ways to keep your eyes on Rise in 2023. One of which, please follow my social media. I will be active. I will be promoting everything I do. If you want to keep up with me, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all in the link below.
Now, here's the thing that a lot of people don't realize in the business. Has it been a struggle for you yet, or a challenge for you yet, juggling school, life, relationships, if any are there, with family, friends, significant others, and traveling in this business where your weekends, where your friends want to hang out and you're booked? How has that been so far in a 6-month span?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge with school. Because I'm a big school guy too. I'm actually a teaching assistant here at West Virginia University, planning on going to grad school next year. So I definitely care about my studies, and I drive cross state lines 4 times a week to go practice and come back. So it can be tough. There's a lot of nights where I'm up very late doing my schoolwork, but it's just about having that mentality where if you want to make it to the top, you want to be the best, you got to put the most work in. So I plan to go get my degree, be successful in that aspect, and be the best wrestler in the world. So if I want to do both of those things, I got to give them both 100%.
Yeah. What exactly are you studying?
In terms of social, I study marketing. My degree is a little bit unique. So it's a combination of minors that create a major. So my 3 minors are marketing, advertising, and communications. And I plan on going to grad school for integrated marketing communications. I like it because not only is it something I'm passionate about, but there's a lot of carryover into wrestling. If you know how to market yourself, you're going to be very successful in this business. If you know how to create a brand, you're going to be very successful in this business. So those are 2 things that I feel like school has helped me with. And to touch on what you were saying earlier, yeah, it can be tough, especially being in a town as lively and social as Morgantown, WVU, where my friends do want to go out to the bars every weekend. And there are weekends, like there's one coming up in December. I'm working 2 shows. So it is what it is. But if you want to be the best, you got to make the sacrifices. You got to take that next level mentality. And that's what I do. So wrestling is something I'm fully committed to. I'll happily give every weekend to it, and no complaints from me.
Yeah, absolutely. That is one thing I think a lot of people don't take in consideration. Is I think they see people do anything like a podcast or wrestling or music, and they're like, oh, they're making money, and they're like, no, there's still a 40-hour week job. There's still family. There's a lot you got to juggle. It's almost like you're taking on something completely different, and it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's hard to maintain a lot of things.
Yeah, it can be, but it's just about being organized and being able to segment your schedule as well as you can and know what your priorities are. I pretty much work every day. I go to school every day, and I wrestle every day. And that can take a lot out of you, but if I didn't love it, I wouldn't be able to do it. So passion keeps me going, and we're not looking to stop here anytime soon.
What was the first time your parents watched you wrestle, whether it was via live or via the internet? What was their reaction and what did they think of it?
So I would say they always knew that this was going to happen at some point. I've always kind of been into that kind of stuff. As I said, I did mixed martial arts for a while, and I've been talking about wrestling since I was a kid when I used to watch Raw and Super Kick the Air. So the first show they've ever been to was IWA whenever I managed Jaden Staley against Johnny Gladstein, and I ran in and I jumped him after the match. So that was the first time they've been introduced to me doing that in any way. And then the first match they saw live was myself and Benjamin T. Asher in the IWF. He's an exceptional young talent as well. Check him out. Versus Kevin Knight and Tony Atlas for the tag team championships there. So I remember going out to get a beer and food with my parents after, and my mom just gave me a big hug, and she was like, that scares me. And, I reassure him I can handle it. This is what I was born to do. I'll be okay. We're all safe in there. I wouldn't work with someone that isn't. But that was my first foray into it. My dad was pretty pumped about it too, because he
IWA is a crowd, man. I'm very fortunate that I think because like I'm still on my first year and a half, I would say, doing commentary. And for the first couple of months, I was kind of in and out of commentary, or I was doing pandemic stuff where I was like a match here and there, and then I was doing more production. But there's certain promotions that just the crowd is what makes the show, and IWA's crowd is unreal. They're unreal. Like they are. What are they called? The Nut House.
Yeah, the Nut House, and they don't seem to like us too much. I gotta say, they're not a
Yeah.
line core crowd, but that'll change because we are the future of IWA. Those tag team championships, they're coming home with myself and Justin next year. You better believe it.
Ooh, that's a task. The faceless ones.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. We're a task.
Yeah.
Have you seen us? You see that match with?
I've seen yous, but I've seen a lot of the faceless ones, and Face scares the shit out of me. He's a scary guy.
They've got that aura. The crowd likes those guys quite a bit. That's
I thought he was
cool.
gonna fight a guy in the crowd. So at the show, I thought he was gonna fight somebody in the crowd. Face. He takes a chair shot, just over the head, dents the whole chair in half over his head, and I was like, holy, like crazy. Then gets out of the ring and just stares at the biggest guy in the crowd for like 5 minutes, and they wouldn't break eye contact. I was like, this venue is amazing. Like I love what they do in that venue, and that what he posted. I don't know if it's out yet, but that new venue they're working at for that promotion. Did you see that?
I did see it. I don't know it's released yet, so I don't want to comment too much on it. But
I'll just say this:
yeah,
when that drops, IWA fans, this place is beautiful.
Yeah, we're going to tear that house down, and hopefully we get a better crowd than Nutley that appreciates Linecore for what it is, because we come out there, we get booed for what? For what? I don't understand it, because we're the future tag team championships. We just got here, and everyone's already talking about us. So if we can go somewhere where we're well appreciated, I'm all for it.
And that's such a beautiful combination of culture, IWA. I love it. Like I said, it's like, it's just I love seeing wrestling bring people together, and IWA is probably the biggest example of that I've ever seen anywhere in the local scene.
Yeah, it's quite the melting pot. There's a lot of unique characters, I think, that are wrestling for that promotion. You get a lot of variety in terms of what you're watching. Whether you're watching myself, watching Jaden Staley, watching PJ Savage, you're getting something a little bit different every single time, but it's all good. So that's really what makes wrestling beautiful, is people coming in and expressing their form of what they feel this art is, and that's what it is. It's art. It's an expression of self. So I think you get a lot of really good variety with IWA.
Yeah. So you said another big passion of yours is music. What are your 3 desert island bands? You have to bring an album with you, and you're going to listen to them forever. What are your 3 albums?
Okay, so albums is tough. Albums is so tough because I like so many good ones. Disgusting by Beartooth.
Okay.
Do you want 3 different bands' albums, or can I do 2 from the same band?
If they are your 3 desert island bands, you can take 2 of the same band.
Okay, so there's going to be so many honorable mentions here because, as I said, I'm a huge metalcore guy, but we're going with Disgusting by Beartooth. That album contains In Between, which is tattooed on my ribs, as I said. Below by Beartooth. I've been fortunate enough to see that live twice, that album, and I got on stage with Caleb Shomo up there, crowd surfed my way up there. Pretty sweet stuff. And then 3, there's so many that I could pick out from bands like Amity Affliction, Of Mice and Men, I Prevail. But in terms of just overall consistency, in terms of song quality, I'm probably going to have to go with Trauma by I Prevail. I think top to bottom, you can listen to that whole album, and it's all amazing. And another album where the songs live are just incredible. So if I'm going with 3 albums, that would probably be my 3. And I understand we went a little overkill on the Beartooth, but I will all day.
Yeah, no, if you have your band, you have your band,
Yeah.
Now, metalcore. I don't really like. I don't say I don't subscribe to, but I have a hard time learning the different genres. Like growing up for me, it was rock. Like you went to FYE, it was rock, country, hip hop, and then like maybe rock and metal, and that was like the only one that differentiated. Like if describe what metalcore is.
Okay, so that's actually a really good question because people, I feel like, just group metal all into the same genre, which is just scream, 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 which metalcore actually isn't. So metalcore, the verses tend to be a little bit harder, probably some dirty vocals, the screaming, and then you contrast that with the chorus being some of the best, almost borderline pop singing that you've ever heard. So it's kind of that sweet and sour mix that makes the song so great, because once the chorus hits you with the clean vocals, it just contrasts so well with the dirty vocals. And you'll see, like, I got to shout out Caleb Shomo again, because he's one of the few musicians I've seen go out there do both the clean and the dirty vocals for his band, and go out there for an entire show and do that. That's got to be insanely tough on your vocal cords. But it's great stuff. If you want band examples to check out, if metalcore is new to anybody that's listening to this, I love to put people on. A good starting band would be Bring Me the Horizon. They're amazing and they're great live. And then once you get into them, I Prevail, Of Mice and Men, Beartooth, Amity Affliction, once you're a little bit more into it. We Came as Romans, all spectacular bands, and definitely a huge passion of mine. If I could be a musician, I probably would also do that. But I'm no Chris Jericho, unfortunately.
Now, is it a good comparison to say that metalcore is almost like a mix between punk and emo with a little bit of heavy metal?
Yeah,
I think a
a
lot of
little
emo
bit.
fans and a lot of punk fans gravitate to like the I Prevails and the We Came as Romans and like the Punk Goes series. A lot of those bands you said are on those, where it's clean vocals and scream, where they like cover Britney Spears, and it's like Punk Goes pop or Punk Goes rock or something.
Yeah, pop goes punk. I think a lot of metalcore bands are actually on those.
Yeah, I love those albums.
Oh, dude, they're great. And I think that's also a really good way to get people into the genre. But yeah, I would say that is kind of a fair comparison, because I saw I Prevail and they toured with, oh my gosh, dude, who makes King for a Day? I need to find this out, because it's a huge band. Pierce the Veil. They toured with Pierce the Veil, which I thought was a very interesting 1-2 punch, because I Prevail and Pierce the Veil are very different bands. But it worked so well together, and you definitely had an interesting crowd of people there. So awesome. Yeah, I would say there definitely is a little bit of crossover there.
I'm gonna definitely check out that Beartooth. That's what I'm gonna do tonight, right when we get off here. What are other interests you have besides music and pro wrestling? What are other things you like to do to, release your brain and veg out and do your thing?
Music, wrestling, and the other big three in terms of stuff that I'm constantly on top of is football. I watch a lot of football. I structure my week very specifically, 6 days a week of just grinding my ass off, going to the gym, hitting the tanning salon, going to wrestling practice. And then on Sunday, I do absolutely nothing but sit in front of my screen and watch ball the entire day. Because I'm also a big believer that for your mental and physical health, you need a day that is just designated as I'm going into this no matter what happened that week, and I'm going to do nothing. I think that's an important thing to help you kind of recalibrate and get ready for the next week. So the thing that puts me at ease that I like to do is watch football all day and watch my New York Jets for the first time in a very long time not lose football games. That's cool. But that I watch baseball. In the basketball, I'm a little bit of a fair weather fan with my Nets. They're a little hard to pull for at the moment, but I would say football is another big thing. And outside of that, I really I'm a very social guy. I like to go out, socialize, and kind of meet people and do that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm a simple man. It doesn't take much to entertain me.
Now, when you're out socializing, I see you like the bars and the clubs a little bit. I can't do clubs. We have to wear like dress shirts and nice shoes. Like, I walked into some place in Jersey and they're like, dude, you have holes in your jeans and you're wearing Chuck Taylors. I'm like, then I'm not coming in here.
See, I'm actually not a club guy either. It's very loud and in your face and just boom, boom, boom. I like to go somewhere where I can hold a conversation.
I love dive bars.
Dive bars are cool, man. You never
Love
know
dive
who you're gonna meet there. I'm very much into talking to the people that look like the biggest characters when I'm out and about. So yeah, dive bars are cool. I obviously find myself in a lot of college bars currently because I'm out in Morgantown, but it's kind of becoming increasingly interesting for me because I'm starting to get to the point where people approach me and say like, hey, like you wrestle. Sometimes I don't know them. So that's kind of been an adjustment going out and getting recognized, which I did not expect at all at this point in where I'm at, but it's the reality. So it kind of puts an interesting twist on the normal college life, I gotta say.
Yeah. How is it when people at your college find out that you're a wrestler? Like you're a teacher's aide and they're like, oh, and then this guy also wrestles in his underwear on the weekends.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I remember going back to the desk at work and a bunch of girls were sitting there and they go, hey, do you like wrestle? Because this is like right after I started and people were seeing my Instagram. Because it's not something I go out and I flaunt in front of people, you know, like it's something that if you know, you know. So I was like, yeah, I do. It's an interesting thing because it's not something that people expect of you at all. Professional wrestling is such a niche thing where you just don't hear about people like, oh yeah, I'm a professional wrestler. That's not something you encounter unless you're in the business typically. So especially to kind of see somebody like myself who's in college, it catches some people off guard, but they think it's cool for the most part when I do it. I encourage all of them to check out my stuff. And if I can make someone a new wrestling fan that's not currently introduced to the business, I'm more than happy to do so.
Yeah, I always tell. So I have a friend who was in the boat of like, I don't like it. I'm not. It's not for me. And I said to him like, well, he loves theater. He'll go to plays. He'll go to shows. He'll go to Broadway every weekend and pay $800 for a Broadway ticket. And I said, if you like Broadway, you'll love pro wrestling. And he's like, no, I won't. I go, it's the same. Walk into a wrestling show and don't think of it as a sports event. Walk into it as action theater. It's stunt performing. I said, buy into the stories, learn the character development. There's bad guys, there's good guys. The bad guys beat the good guy down for a little bit. The good guy rises up. The bad guy may cheat. I said, look at it as theater and characters. At the end of the show, he goes, I get it. He's like, he had a new appreciation for it. He's not a diehard fan, but he left there with a different understanding of the business.
It's a violent soap opera is what it is. And that's how I always present it to people because we're very much athletes, but we're also very much performers as well. You need to be good at both of those things to succeed in this, which is why it takes a very unique individual to get to the top of this business because you see a lot of people that are only good at one of the two things. So my goal is to master both as well as I can. But if you're showing stuff to someone that isn't entrenched in wrestling already, I tend to show them the things that are funnier to start off. And
like an Orange Cassidy or a Danhausen.
Honestly, less even those guys and more the two things I always refer to that my friends that aren't in the business back in New Jersey found very entertaining. They loved Bad News with Bad News Barrett, and they loved The List, Chris Jericho's List.
Yeah.
Because those are the two things I think are the funniest things that have ever happened to wrestling. So I show them that, and they've always been thoroughly entertained with that. And, it gives them an appreciation for what we do because they see the entertainment aspect of this that I think people miss a lot of the time. They look at wrestling and they don't understand that that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be entertainers. We're not trying to present ourselves as football, as baseball, as basketball. We're wrestling. We're doing our own thing. We love it.
Now, what you said when you played football earlier, you said, the defensive side of the ball. Did you ever play offensive side, or would you just only play defense?
Yeah, I was a quarterback.
Quarterback. Okay.
Yeah.
Now here's the question for that. Middle linebacker, you're usually the one. Every single player, you're a body on body. Quarterback, you don't want to be hit every play, but you're the guy who's everyone's trying to hit. Now, transitioning from football and 3 days and basketball and all those sports you did, how does that translate the soreness, the achingness, the physical toll on your body compared to wrestling training?
It's different, but also similar, where my conditioning from amateur wrestling is just very, very good. So a lot of the drills and stuff that we do in professional wrestling, I can bang through pretty easily because I have that athletic background. I never really stopped being an athlete. So I think it's important to kind of have something going into it, because there's little things where, sometimes you'll see someone that's never played a sport before trying into wrestling, and even just the way they run, everything is just a little bit funky. So if you're a bit younger in high school and wrestling is what you want to do eventually, I recommend amateur wrestling, but get involved in something. Just go out there, be an athlete, learn that level of work ethic, because if this is something you want to do, you need to have that physique. You need to have that athleticism. All of those things matter. And that will be the basis for helping you figure out how that stuff works, and getting your feet wet before you really dive into the pool.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, if anyone in the chat has any questions, please put them in there. We are getting close to the end here. What I want to ask you here is what are some future goals, man? What are things you want to accomplish, and the future of Jason Hendrix?
Okay, so long term, absolutely want this to be everything for me, whether that is New Japan, AEW, WWE. I want to be consistently in one of the major promotions at some point. In the short term, just continue to work the independents and get larger and larger shows and get more exposure, and just have people be entertained by what I do. Just hearing that anyone took the time to watch me, whether it's a podcast appearance, one of my matches, is a huge honor. It's a huge honor that someone would take the time. So in the short term, continue to work on my craft, get as good in the ring as I can, be as big of a character as I can be. And then in the long term, put the pen to paper with that contract, because if I keep working like I'm working, I'm promising you, I will get there. So I'm very excited to get there down the line.
Are you, what are you doing Saturday?
Saturday. That is a good question.
Got Tom's Rivers thing is Saturday, where they're doing that whole seminar where it's going to have all those names and companies that are like tryouts for. Probably a good opportunity
Contest
to go.
of Champions, right?
Yeah. So it's a private seminar early, and they're doing in-ring seminar, commentary, promo, and all that stuff, and it's going to have like representation from all these major companies, and then it's the con, which I'm hosting, and then the show after. But I think if you definitely want to get your name out there and put yourself out there, that'd be a good opportunity.
Yeah, I saw that. That's something I've been considering for some time, because a lot of my friends are attending that. My only thing is, because I'm out here in Morgantown, I'm going the weekend after. I will be in New Jersey for a show, and then the weekend after that, I will be returning to Jersey again for the holidays. So
what's the show after?
The December 10th show.
Yeah,
that will be IWF in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Okay.
So
I thought you were about to say you're going to be at Shore Star. I was like, all right.
No, unfortunately, I was asked by Jaden if I'd go with him, because Shore Star Wrestling December 10th. If you're not in New Brunswick watching my match, check that out. You'll see Jaden Staley versus Brandon Downey in an IWA showcase match. That's definitely worth taking the time to see. But yeah, I will be in New Brunswick December 10th facing Zay Spalding. I will chop the big man down. Never been a problem for me before, never will be. So check that out. But yeah, that's kind of my issue with it is I have to be in New Jersey twice in the next couple weeks. So I'm just trying to figure out if I can logistically make that work. But
for how much I've been paying in tolls for Jersey this past year, it's crazy.
Oh man, you got no idea, brother. You got no idea. It's I made the 6-hour drive to get back here from Jersey yesterday. It's just something you get used to, but yeah, there's a good
Atlantic
chance
City and back, Rio Grande and back. Oh boy, they're long days.
Are you going to be at Shore Star in Rio Grande then? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm part of the commentary team there. Me and Pete. Yeah,
awesome.
Pete
so same thing then as IWA. That's perfect.
Pete's the GOAT, man. He's the GOAT.
Yeah, dude. You both do a really good job. I go back, I watch IWA, and y'all do really well keeping things engaging. Maybe a little bit too much shade on Lioncore, but we'll let it pass for now because you were nice enough to have me on your show. But yeah, y'all do a great job. And I think a lot of these IWA talents that you're seeing from top to bottom, whether it's you guys, whether it is the roster itself, you're going to be seeing all over New Jersey and Pennsylvania a lot in 2023 because there's a lot of young studs. So
Yeah.
Specifically myself, Justin, and Jaden, watch out. So keep in tune, guys. Keep in tune.
Absolutely. Anything, where can people find you? Merch, social medias?
Yeah, merch is hopefully coming out next year. We've got some things cooking. Social
If you don't make a
media,
Lioncore shirt that looks like a band tour shirt, you fucked up.
dude, that is the only thing I've been pitching since day one.
Perfect. Yeah.
They're all gonna be very band inspired. We've floated the idea of having like different like kind of a Motley Crue inspired shirt, a Led Zeppelin inspired shirt, just kind of going all over the place with it. But you can check that out as well as my individual merchandise, which should be out in January or February. You can find me on Instagram at Jason Hendrix Official, Facebook Jason Hendrix, Twitter is Jason Hendrix with 3 X's.
Oh, I see what we did there.
Yeah, you already know. And then YouTube is the Jason Hendrix Experience. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing in the ring, promo-wise, everything, it's a great place to tune in. But you can find all that condensed and easy in my link tree down below. So please, guys, don't miss out. This is the future. And if you don't hop on now, you're going to miss the train.
Absolutely. Last one I have here is who are some names in the business? Either tag team, solo, whoever you want. That's on your radar. You want to work.
Okay, so do you want me to give you bigger names? Because I have some bigger names.
You can give me bigger names, independent names, whatever you want.
Okay, so some bigger names that I can think of off the top of my head. My 2 guys that I say I would love to mix it up with because I'm a big technical wrestling fan as well as that's what I try and do in there. I would love to face either Zack Sabre Jr. or Daniel Bryan. I just think the chain wrestling that we could pull off would be incredible. Those are guys that I've looked up to and I've taken stuff from. As you know, I've studied film and done all that stuff. So that would all be an absolute great honor for me. And then if I could give a name on the independents, Cowpoke Paul. I would love to work with Cowpoke Paul. You can check him out. He's on Rise. He's on VCW. He's on RSW. He's everywhere, man. That is a guy that he's a young dude. He's working so many independent promotions all around the country already, and he's going to be in New Jersey soon, I'm pretty sure. So, I got my eyes set on Cowpoke, and we're going to take out the Cowboy at some point. I'm telling you that much.
I like it. I have a name that I'll float out to you that you should look into. Another guy, great wrestler, sells. He's essentially looks like Seth Rollins and has the same style of wrestling, everything to you. Also a very, very talented amateur wrestler. I believe he went really far in the States. Miles Millennium.
Okay.
Look him up. I think you guys would have a really good match as well. Your styles, I think, would be very, very similar.
Does he work in the New Jersey area, Pennsylvania?
Delaware. You ever hear the Goons? With
Sounds
Killian
familiar.
McMurphy. It was Killian and Big Dust and they were all over the IW 500 top 500 lists, and they were like a stable of people who went to all these promotions and did these crazy storylines. But Miles is part of that team, and I think with both your amateur backgrounds, I think you'd be fun to watch.
Awesome. Well, I'll be very active in the independents the next couple of years, so I'm sure we'll cross paths.
Awesome. So, promoters, if you're listening, book that match. I want to see that one. But thank you so much, Jason, for doing this interview and hanging out. My first guy in the business. I'm pretty pumped. My throat held up pretty well. I feel like I'm getting my voice back. It's just phlegm at this point. I don't feel like I'm dying of a fever anymore. It's great. But yeah, I will be doing another interview. So before I got sick, I was terrified of today because I hope I can do this. And I wouldn't cancel, but later on tonight, I will be interviewing at 9:00 Vincenzo, who is a big short-start wrestling guy, and so another Jersey wrestling scene guy. And then next week, I'll be interviewing another young in the business wrestler, Vinny Marino, who is from PPW and Battlefield Battlefield Pro off a junior school. So, and he has a great look, big, huge waterfall mullet. He dresses like Savage in the 80s. He's something. Yeah, he's really fun. And that'll be next Tuesday. So a lot of cool stuff to be coming up. I think the next, like from now to the end of the year, are all people in the business, whether it be wrestlers, referees, and I think that's pretty much it. But I'm open to interviewing anybody. So if you want to be on the show, the link tree below, the very first link you're going to see is just a quick sign up link. Just give me a little idea what you want to talk about. Because I have so many people like, I'll come on your show. I'm like, what are you going to talk about? They're like, I don't know. I was like, no, like you have to have something prepared.
Yeah.
But yeah, so join the show. 2023 is going to be amazing. Sorry, cold induced head trauma here. But once again, thank you so much. Everyone check the links below. Keep an eye on Jason Hendrix. He's going to be killing it in the scene. And we'll see you guys next time. Here's some Billy Trey, and we're out of here.